So today you're listening to Beyond the Chamber podcast. So we're glad to have you here. My name's Kelly Richman. I am with Lifetime Eclipse Photography, and I am your host today, or co-host.
Hey, Kelly.
And I'm Matthew Ferraro. I'm the president and CEO of the Katy Area Chamber. Charles, we appreciate you being here with us today. Tell us a little bit about your role and what you do with AT&T.
Yeah, glad to be here today, Kelly and Matthew. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
My role at AT&T, the title is Corporate External Affairs Director.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is work with
Can you
elected
break that down for
officials. Yeah, let me break that down a little bit, especially during legislative session like we're in right now. I work with elected officials, provide some insight on the way our industry views bills that may be up for a vote, how they turn into laws, how that affects their constituents. And then outside of the session, I work with nonprofits, community leaders, businesses, other organizations to make sure that AT&T solutions show up in the right places and help communities get stronger.
That's a lot.
It is.
So we met through Leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leadership Katy.
Leadership Katy.
Mhm.
So we're almost done with that.
Graduation this
Yeah.
week.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah. So that's been fun. So how, I guess, just to kind of start, like, how have you approached like getting involved with the community here? Or
Katy
what is
specifically?
your?
So Leadership Katy was my introduction
Okay.
to the community. I met Matthew at
So
the
were you
Infrastructure
not
Summit.
from Katy?
Not from Katy.
Okay.
I'm
Where you-
from Houston,
Okay.
3rd Ward, specifically the Trey in
Okay.
Houston, Texas.
Trey.
The Trey. Yes. Right there across from Jack Yates High School, corner of Sampson, Alabama is where I grew up.
Great.
And I got involved with the Katy area through the Infrastructure Summit put
Okay.
on by the Chamber. And I was invited to speak on 5G and how that was to impact the community, and had no idea that I would meet Matthew Ferraro and learn all about the community first, right? So we had a membership through our AT&T business team, and they needed a speaker. And they thought external affairs ought to be the folks to speak. And I'm glad they did, because there was a whole community in Katy that I had no idea about. Katy was just a place that I did not go to as a kid.
You didn't know we were as tight-knit as
I didn't
we
know.
are.
I didn't know it was like that. I knew it was far, and I didn't have a car at the time. So, but no, but the community is what drew me to Katy, and I'm looking for ways to help.
Yeah, well, that's
Tell
awesome.
Tell us a little bit about the work we've done together, just so not everybody understands when you join a chamber all of the resources available, right? And a lot of people say, "Oh, we're gonna go network. We're gonna do a ribbon cutting." What has Charles and AT&T seen in your relationship, not just with us, but other EDC, other business associations, and the community as a whole?
Because your view is probably a little bit different
Yeah.
than some of the others, like
versus a small
business
which is,
or
yeah.
Yeah, so my view is really different, because I have two goals in my role just with the company, right?
Yeah.
It's making sure that our voice is heard before elected officials when it's time for them to vote, but also positioning our different business units to win business and expand and provide the communication services that are needed. So the Chamber has been really instrumental in helping both, right? Because when you get to go to different meetings that the Chamber has, education and industry and government all in the same room, you get to build the relationships that actually make things happen.
do you think leadership has helped you with like some of that? Because
Yeah, leadership has helped me, because I did not know anybody in Katy ISD, but I
Now
know
you do.
several people now, and it helps move the conversation along when you know people, right? There's one thing to email folks kind of cold, and you reach out and try the best you can, but if you've seen someone and shook their hand at an event,
or just
the
being
response is
friends with
different.
them, and like for me, I think there were so many people that you knew who they were, but just having a like relationship with them
Yeah.
makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes Charles Stein tick? What is your why?
If I were to put it in 2 words, my why is community impact, right? Because from where I grew up, the community shaped everything that I had an opportunity to do, right? So if you see me moving around only at AT&T, like not in the community, it's the same as what you see in the community. Internally, I'm always trying to figure out a way to connect someone to an opportunity. And that opportunity is usually to educate someone, get someone a job, enable first responders. So that's what I do. My why is my family, right? Because I'm the anchor in my family, for my mom, for my sister. But now that I'm married and have a kid,
So how long have you been married?
I'm 3 years in.
Okay.
Yeah, and with a lifetime to go. So, and we have a 10-year-old.
A 10-year-old. Okay.
Yep. So, but yeah, that's my why. My family and community impact.
And that kind of like your family keeps you motivated? Is that your motivation to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, yeah. So my wife is in education.
Yeah.
She's an administrator at a charter school, and my son goes to that school.
Oh, nice.
So everything
In town or?
in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. KIP.
I call in town Houston.
Yeah.
Some people would make fun of me for that.
Yeah. So KIP Connect, right? So
Okay.
it's a charter school. Charter schools in the news a lot lately right now.
Yeah.
But when I think about the services that AT&T provides and how that could show up in both of their lives, it gets me more curious about how the technology works, whether or not something could help her do her job or keep that school protected. There's just a lot going on right now, and you want to make sure that administrators and public safety can communicate, but also that kids can learn on the best technology too. So it's personal.
So let's dive into Charles a little bit. So coming from your upbringing, I guess, or what inspired you to become what you are today?
Yeah. Hands down, my grandmother.
Okay.
Yes. Margaret
Why?
Johnson. Yes. 7. She had 7 children. My mom was the baby of 7. My grandmother on a diploma from Franklin Beauty School. So you would call that CTE right now, Career Technical Education. On a diploma from Franklin Beauty School, she began a hair salon, a restaurant, and a commercial and residential real estate business.
Go-getter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Serial entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur.
So she kind of helped you or inspired you to become what you are?
She did. She inspired me to go to college. So when I was in high school, I enjoyed the social aspect more than the academics. And, took a test.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, took a test for the military just to see if I would have, the skills needed to be successful. From that, I started getting letters from the Naval Academy, West Point, and different things like the other colleges I had never heard of before. And I was too young to join the military at the time. But my grandmother encouraged my mom to sign for me to ultimately accept a congressional nomination to the U.S. Naval Academy. And that was one of the coolest experiences of my life. So,
right. Tell us a little more about that.
Okay. So what's that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I initially wanted to go to the Coast Guard Academy, but my SAT scores weren't high enough.
Okay.
So I accepted a nomination to the Naval Academy, but I didn't get in straight away. I had to go to the prep school first to get my math and science scores up. And that was the beginning of a really tough time in my life because folks on my mom and my dad's side of my family started passing away. Like the summer that I went to the prep school, my dad's dad passed away. And the summer that I got into the...
Were you really close with them?
Yeah, I was. I would see him in the summertime. My mom and dad weren't together, but the family were still close.
Yeah.
And then the plebe summer at the Naval Academy, the grandmother that I'm telling you about passed away. Completely broke my focus. I was just out there. I was, she motivated me to make the decision to go out there. And then I was just alone, had never really been away from home like that before. And
Her passing.
I didn't finish the Naval Academy. I had to come on back home. And I won't blame her passing on me not being able to finish, but I just didn't have the internal motivation with her not being there, to push through.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as you pivoted from that experience, that brought you to UH?
So initially it brought me to Texas Southern University.
Okay.
So although I needed to get my math and science scores up in high school, something clicked between the Naval Academy and Texas Southern because I was on a National Science Foundation scholarship for physics.
Oh, wow.
And I was tutoring physics.
Man, if I'd only known this like a month and a half ago, you'd have been in my house every night.
Yeah. So LSAMP, Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, NSF is trying to make sure that there's a lot of opportunity for people from all backgrounds to participate in science and technology. So I took that chance. But TSU was a lot different from the military. I was having a lot of fun on the yard, so I needed to switch up again, and that's when I made it over to University of Houston.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Cool. And so, what would you say some of the biggest challenges are that you face every day?
In my current job? Yeah.
Yeah, current job, but also outside of work.
Okay. In the current job, time management, by far. Everything is urgent. No, there's just not 24 hours is not enough. Everything is urgent. Everything
needs to be done
I'm so
right
much
now.
closer to how everything that I do impacts someone's life beyond the moment, like beyond the email, beyond the conversation. My response time could be the difference between someone's security cameras at home, keeping them safe at night. It could be the safety of students at a school bus, with some downed wires, making sure that nothing happens to the kids or to the property around it. It could be the difference between a positive or negative vote on a bill that we're pushing for. So time management is really big. I have to be responsive, have to gather and process information quickly and respond quickly.
So if your phone buzzes right now, you're going to have to grab it?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think time management becomes even harder during session?
Yes. In a word, yes. But also I think I get a little more grace during session too, because most of the offices that I'll get, customer escalations from, they know what's going on. So, my business partners, that's why it's good to have good relationships with everybody and not just stick in your silo, because just building up good relationships outside of session helps folks to understand, hey, y'all, 88th legislative session, $5 billion on the line for broadband to close the digital divide. If Charles doesn't respond, he's probably doing something important. You can't use that all the time though, right? You got to reply back real fast. But yeah.
So back to Matthew then, on a personal level, what do you feel like those challenges are?
I would say taking time for myself.
Yeah. How do you balance? Always being having to be responsive and do you take time away?
Are you able to disconnect fully?
I'm working on being able to disconnect more fully, right? So I prioritize family time. So this past weekend was a super highlight. All three of our, household little family tribe, we went to an Astros game. We went to a Roughnecks game, XFL.
Cool.
We went to Harry Potter for the Houston Symphony.
Yeah.
Y'all packed it all in one weekend.
Yeah, so we did a lot. I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something, but yeah. but we have to do that, right? So because in my family, I'm not my son's biological father. So he has visitation with the other side of the family, so I only see him every other weekend.
Okay.
So when we get together, we got to make
you got to make it count, right?
Well,
right.
And I've kind of started experiencing that as well with my own kids, and now with the blend of previously it felt like things for me anyway was we can kind of do things as a unit whenever, but now that time is a little bit more limited. It's like we're gonna do it all this weekend. 2 weekends from now we're gonna do this.
Yes.
And is that how it's been, and is that what kind of transition was that like for you prior to?
Prior to, I mean, that was a challenge,
Yeah.
right? I was used to living by myself,
Sure.
right after my sister went off to college, and my mom lives in another city now.
Uh-huh.
So I was by myself. I was enjoying that very much. But maybe I wasn't the most productive, right?
Sure.
I was having a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
But now I have hardly no downtime. The transition is tough because I have to make sure that work is taken care of,
Right.
but I have to be available when wife and son come home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then after all that is done, like the work is done, the family's taken care of, what I'm looking at now is, all right, now how do I refresh and recharge myself?
Yeah.
So I'm taking small steps, eating a little bit better, drinking more water and less other things.
Yeah.
And, I think I need to get up a little bit earlier, tap into that military, push that button again, get up a little early, take care of the physical, read some non-work things.
Yeah.
It's
just get some
crazy
hobbies.
just like what eating differently can do for your mental state too.
Yes.
Just like
Yeah.
drinking water and
Staying hydrated, being I don't know how to put it, but just being present, you being mindfully present, if that makes sense,
It does.
of yourself and your intakes and your exertions and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
yeah, and just taking care of you, right? You kind
How
of
do-
have to do that a little bit.
I almost have to learn how.
I was gonna say, how does Charles take care of himself?
Yeah, so I do like to read.
Yeah.
I like to take walks without devices, right?
Ooh.
So
What is that like?
Yeah, does that even work?
it is freeing. Did you know that there are animals around the park?
I saw this little thing with a tail and 4 legs. I don't know.
Yes, some of them have shells. Some of them can swim. So I just like to walk around the neighborhood. I like to.
So do you
just-
tell your wife, like, I'm going on a walk, I'm not taking my phone with me?
I do. So we use a
Or
calendar.
she goes with you.
We use a
Okay.
calendar a lot.
Okay.
And
so do
sometimes
we.
I just need to zone out and not be available to anybody but me, and just simple as it sounds, listen to the wind blow.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
hear some gravel
absolutely, yeah.
crunch
Yeah.
under my feet.
Do you do any types of meditation?
Yeah, every morning. Okay, so
You do?
that is
Okay.
one thing I do before I get going, because once the phone starts ringing, it's not going to stop. The email is
Yeah.
going to be dinging all day.
So what do you do?
In the morning, I just set my intention for the day without the calendar. I have a spiritual practice, right? I'll read some inspirational text. I'll write a little bit in the journal. I'm trying to get more consistent to do it every day,
Yeah.
but I'll step out on the porch for a second, just see some sunshine a little bit, breathe some fresh air,
Yeah.
and then get to it, whether I'm at home or at the office.
What does the writing do for you? Because I started doing that, or attempted to do it a couple of years back, and keeping the consistency of the writing portion was difficult for me. And like keeping myself accountable. Let me go. Well, I called it journaling. Let me go journal about my thoughts, my where my thoughts are. Are my thoughts in the right place? Do they need to go somewhere else? Do I need to focus intentionally here, there, or elsewhere?
Yeah.
What has your journaling, for lack of better words, what you
Okay.
call it, done for you?
It's helped me to articulate in pressure situations.
Oh, nice.
So we're sports fans. Little
Yeah.
Mamba mentality,
Yeah.
a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So when you're getting ready to shoot the shot, you can't feel nervous of whether or not it's going to go in. It's either going in or it's not,
Right.
But you should feel good about shooting it, right?
Right.
So my shots that I shoot a lot of times are in conversations,
Yeah.
right? And so I know that I'm going to go into a situation throughout the day where someone is going to attempt to access a resource, attempt to influence me, make a request, a demand, present something to me that I have to respond to quickly. And so if I kind of have already balanced myself earlier in the day, it helps me to not feel the pressure when those moments happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. How do you see yourself? We've all got struggles and challenges every day.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago with one of our chairmen, asking, what was your greatest learning experience in your professional career so far? And I was like, The easiest answer for me was don't be afraid to fail, because failures oftentimes leads to success. Yeah. What would you say is one of your biggest failures that led to a very positive outcome for you?
Biggest failure that led to a positive outcome had to be trying to lead union workers in my first job at AT&T. So in the leadership development program, you don't get to go to an area you already have experience in. You are challenged to grow in an unfamiliar area.
Yeah.
And so I was managing at the height of the group, 30 union employees in a warehouse environment where we moved telecom equipment from the largest distribution center in the company across 5 states. And we had to have 100% fulfill rate every single time. There's a lot of personalities across 30 people. And the biggest mistake that I made was trying to be everything to everybody.
So that's what Olivia said.
Yeah. I mean, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because who are you to yourself if you're everything
Exactly.
to everybody, right? There's hard decisions between morals and efficiency and productivity and stuff like that. But I just learned I can't be everything to everybody, so I have to be me to myself, right? I have to be clear on who I am and what I want to be, you know? And so that was a lot of lessons learned in that one job. But the biggest thing, I can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
How do you hope to impact your family, like with what you do on a daily basis, or your son? Like, is there certain things that you do on a daily or through work that you want to show him to impact his life, or to not change but to help him?
Yeah. So that made my eyes feel a little sandy when I started thinking about the reason. Eric is my reason, and everything that I do, I'm hoping to set up like an ecosystem of options for him to choose from. I can't make him choose anything, but I want the best options for his future to be available, whether that's academically, sports-wise, financially, if he decides to become an entrepreneur or a Longhorn or a lawyer or whatever it is he wants to do. I know that was for you. I'm a Cougar. He wants to be a Longhorn. I'm trying to take him to some football games now that we're in the Big 12 to change his mind.
Yeah.
But everything I do is to set up options for him in the future, so he just has the best menu to select from.
So it's crazy how to think how what we do as parents can impact them. I mean, we're their role models, right? Or somewhat. But
No, yeah. I mean, we're our parents. I mean, our kids look up to us, whether they're biological or not. I mean, I've got one that's not, and trying to be the best version of myself when I'm around him, not just for him but for my others as well. And it's taxing at times, but again, I like how you say you're trying to develop an ecosystem of options, versus growing up I thought I'm going to be anything I want is going to be in sports, and no other options. And that just wasn't the case. And so I might have an offsite little segue conversation with you of what does that ecosystem look like on an everyday? What do you intentionally put into that? What do you feed that ecosystem for him to understand and see?
Yeah. So I feel like what I do now is relationship building, right? So you think about construction, an office building is not, or a stadium that's not built by one person. It's built by a group of people that have similar interests or the same vision. And so that ecosystem, the way it looks to me, is folks who make laws, folks whose work is governed by those laws, folks who educate students, right? So I think of government, workforce and education. Like those are the main pillars of the, the triangle or the three legs of the stool, of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to make sure that I understand enough about education so that I know why there's a gap between workforce opportunity and the talent that's supposed to fill the jobs. Right. And then I want to make sure that I understand what the skills are needed, what the skills that are needed to be successful in those jobs, so I can make sure my son has those skills. And I want to understand where in our community are those skills most available so that he has access to those skills, right? But that's just me as a parent, right? When I take me as a person, coming from the neighborhood that I grew up in and being the professional that I am today, it's not enough for just my son to have that access, because we're all Texans, at least we are now if we weren't born here, right? So how can those sorts of opportunities exist across Texas, across Fort Bend County, Waller, Harris County?
Not just for Eric.
Not just for Eric, right? And so that's why the relationships matter a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's why my understanding and my literacy of policy, technology, educational systems, it has to be just a little bit sharper, because when I get in conversations where a connection can be made, that helps us all to come together as a community and not operate, almost competing for resources, but collaborating with them.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your experiences in different leadership programs. So I know you're obviously with our program, the Leadership Katy program. You'll be graduating, on Friday. But you had a unique
Well, I don't know. We haven't graduated.
Oh, yeah. We got to see how he
If
lasts.
I make it to the end of the week.
The end of the
right?
week,
He's got to make it till Friday morning. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Speak from experience, Kelly. But you had a unique opportunity to take part in another program. Do you want to talk about that?
You want to remind me, because there's a lot of programs that I'm interested in right now.
The NASA program.
Oh, man. Accelerate Space. Yes. Okay. So I was always interested in space as a kid. My son, after visiting Space Center Houston, I was blown away at his interest. And so I wanted to learn how does that world work? Yeah. How could I be involved? Talking about the ecosystem. How can I join the ecosystem and maybe highlight some things for him that he'd be interested in a little bit later? And then maybe how could I participate in the ecosystem in my current work or future work, right? So Accelerate Space is an educational leadership program put on by Space Center Houston, and it takes all of the leadership lessons learned in crewed space missions since the beginning of space exploration and condenses it down into a format where you learn how to be a good teammate, how to be curious, how to be aware of your surroundings and just pursue knowledge and understanding, and how to contribute in your role, whatever that is, whether it's professional or community. And so graduating from that, I got a whole bunch of new friends. I've been to some
built a lot of relationships.
The Conrad Foundation is something really cool that I hope to introduce the Katy community to. Yeah. Cool. Just building that ecosystem.
Did that all take place there at NASA, or like where did this?
Everything on the campus of NASA. Yeah. But the cool thing is some of my teammates were from other places. One of my teammates was a Canadian that was a polyglot. Do you know what a polyglot is? I learned this term. It means they speak multiple languages fluently. Polyglot.
By multiple, more than two?
More than two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was. Okay.
Yeah. So,
wow. I mean,
how many languages can you speak?
Well, I'm almost fluent in English, right? But
I'm still working on that.
I'm still working, but I can speak a little bit of Spanish. Entiendo más que yo hablo. I understand more than I can speak. Yeah. Okay. I'm working on it.
Oh, cool.
What are some of your lifetime? I feel like you're a very thought-driven individual. What are some of your lifetime goals?
Lifetime goals. So I remember this from an interview at Rice University, and the hiring manager laughed at me and hired me. They asked me, "What are your goals in 5 years?" I said, "I want to be the provost of a university." not knowing that it took much longer than 5 years and an undergraduate degree to become provost of a university. But I still want to do that. But I would bump it up these days. I want to be the president of a university system.
Wow.
Nice.
You got your targets set on any? We can call them out.
We'll see where life takes me. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah,
Well,
I think that would be fun. Take some of these business learnings, these social learnings, this community impact, and bring it to a university and see how the university can show up for the community that it would educate in the future.
And we've had some interesting conversations and dialogues regarding the possibilities of new educational opportunities out in the West Houston market, and hearing that's kind of your future aspirations of being in charge of a university system. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Need all the help I can get.
Hey, we've got connections. Kelly and I both have connections, and whatever we can do to support that
Absolutely.
mission and goal for you. I mean, obviously, we want you to stay with the chamber as much as we can.
Right.
Yeah.
I have every
He'd
intention
still be
to.
involved.
Yes.
we still keep him in.
Yeah.
We'd force his hand.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us for
we appreciate
a
it.
few minutes.
Thank you for letting us get to know Charles a little bit.
yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Other
It's been
than
fun.
AT&T, Charles.
Yeah, and the pocket square.
And the pocket
And
square.
the pocket
square, sharp
square.
square. You want to show it off to the camera right back here? Yeah. there it is. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Every now and then, just put on a little flair.
All right. Well, thanks for
Thank you,
coming
sir.
out.
Thank y'all.
We'll see you next
That
time.
was fun.